it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about Canada Reads. I'm obsessed with this shirt! So I got this at the bookstore that I work at, Chapters Indigo, which if you're Canadian you know is the big bookstore in Canada. If you're not, now you know. But I am just obsessed with being Canadian. For those of you who don't know, I try and mention it whenever I can because if not, you guys all assume that I'm American, but I am a very proud Canadian, and this year marks 150 years since Confederation, or since Canada officially became a country. So July 1st is Canada Day, and that was 2 days ago when this video is going up. It actually hasn't happened yet. I'm unfortunately going to be in America for Canada Day, which kind of sucks. I'm going to be in California, but we are going all out and still celebrating Canada because absolutely. But I am willing to take any excuse I can get to talk about Canadian things, so I am taking this and running with it. So I've been planning this video for a while now, doing research on Canadian authors, specifically in YA, and I bought a bunch of books with the intentions of reading them before filming this video, but I never got to them. So I'm going to be talking about some that I have read that I recommend to you guys, and also some that I haven't read that are on my TBR because I am just a terrible person. And really, June/July just snuck up on me, and before I realized it, I was like, oh crap, yep, well, I have no time to read these, but we're just gonna work with it, working with what we got. So without further ado, let's get into it. Also, this video is focusing on YA reads, by honorable mention to Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery, the amazing children's story that takes place in PEI, and it is just the best. And also honorable mention to The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which I have not read yet, but I have a personalized signed copy, and I'm a terrible Canadian for not having read it, but I will get to it, I promise. So I'm going to start off with the books that I have read already. I'm not going to go too into depth with them because I do have quite a few books to talk about. Also, if I forgot any authors, let me know down below because it's kind of hard to find which authors are Canadian and all that stuff. It's very, very hard. First off, we have Ink by Amanda Sun. This book takes place in Japan, but it is written by a Canadian. I actually haven't read in a while, but I believe the character from this book is from Canada, possibly Toronto. I could be completely wrong, as she could be from the States, but you get the point. It takes place in Japan, but Canadian author, and it's all about these gods and drawing and stuff like that. Terrible description, but it's a very cool book. Like, super out there, very interesting. Next, we have Frostblood by Ellie Blake. This book actually holds a special place in my heart because the author is from the same city as me, which does not happen often. There aren't a lot of authors from my city that have been picked up by big publishers, such as this one is Little Brown, which I believe is an imprint of Harper Teen. I could be completely wrong, but I believe it's Harper. But I'm so excited for her, and this book was really good. It's not entirely original, but it was still very well written, a cool story, and I'm excited for the second one, and just very excited that someone from my city has made it big. It gives me hope. Next up is The Valiant by Leslie Livingston. Leslie Livingston actually has quite a few novels, but this is the only one of hers that I've read, and I loved it. It's all about gladiators, but female gladiators, so it's in the Roman Empire, which is just a brutal world. Fallon, the main character, is just the perfect, strong, badass female character that we need in YA, and I can't wait to read the next book in this series. I'm not sure if it's going to be a trilogy or duology or anything like that, but this book was just so good and I can't wait to read more. Next up is Exit Pursued by Bear by E.K. Johnston. This book also has a special place in my heart because it was written in a Chapters, which is the bookstore that I work at, and it was written in a Chapters in a city that I used to go to often. It's quite close to me, so I think that's just very cool. But this story is a retelling of The Winter's Tale by William Shakespeare. It's a very loose retelling of it, but it was a very interesting read, super weird, but very cool. Next up is With Malice by Eileen Cook. This is a very weird kind of thriller mystery. There was basically this accident when the main character went on a trip abroad to Italy and it killed her best friend, but there's a lot of mystery surrounding everything that happened. So it was a cool thriller. I did find that it was a bit slow, but once I got going, I was hooked, and I don't generally enjoy thrillers, but this is one that I really, really liked. And the final two Canada reads that I have actually read are A Book of Spirits and Thieves and Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. These books both take place in the same universe. This one's kind of like a Game of Thrones retelling. This one takes place partially in Toronto, which is awesome, and it kind of has like a cult in it. They're so cool, amazing fantasies, and I was just so hyped when I found out that the author was Canadian. I was just all about that life, so these are great, and if you are going to read one of the books that I recommend, like, pick up these two. That's two, but like, I liked this one more than Falling Kingdoms, but I also listened to Falling Kingdoms on audiobook. I need to like actually sit down and read it, but nonetheless, the world that she's created is incredible. The characters, it's just a brutal fantasy where no one is safe. So very Game of Thrones-esque, but so good. And now we're going to get to the books on my TBR that are by Canadian authors. So first up is Mad Miss Mimic by Sarah Henstra. This takes place in Victorian England. That's all I know, but I know that the author is Canadian and I literally know nothing about it. Yay, this is great. Next up is We Are All Made of Molecules by Susan Nielsen. I believe this one deals with some sort of mental illness, but once again, I don't really know a lot about it because I like to go into books not knowing a lot. All I know is Susan Nielsen is Canadian. Go figure. Next up is Say You Will by Eric Walters. Eric Walters has a ton of books, but he comes into the bookstore that I work at and signs a bunch of them quite often. This one is not signed, unfortunately, but like, of course. But I was going through his books and this one sounded the most appealing to me. I believe it's about a promposal, which just sounds very cute, so I'm up for it. Next up is 1,000 Nights and Spindle by E.K. Johnston, who is the author of Exit Pursuit by Bear, which I mentioned earlier, but these are retellings of 1001 Arabian Nights and Sleeping Beauty. I don't know why I just blanked on that, but I'm all about retellings and I just really want to read these. They have gorgeous, gorgeous covers and I'm just, yeah. Next up is 10 Things I Can See From Here by Carrie Mack. This book deals with anxiety, which is all I know, but like I read the title and I saw the top of it, like the little blurb, which says freak out, calm down, repeat, which I very much related to, so I decided to pick this one up, and the author is from Vancouver, I believe, which I really want to go to. Next up is Every Hidden Thing by Kenneth Opel. This has been out for about a year now and it didn't really intrigue me in the beginning, but then for some reason it just went over my head, and then I picked it up again and I was like, oh, this seems really cool because it is described as Romeo and Juliet meets Indiana Jones. That is awesome, so I really want to get to this one. And the final book by a Canadian author on my TBR is probably the most Canadian, actually one of the most Canadian books that I own, and that is Maud by Melanie Fishbane. This came out this past May and I've had an arc of it for a while but haven't gotten to it yet because I suck, but it is all inspired by the life of L.M. Montgomery, who is the author of Anne of Green Gables, so it's a very just Canadian story and I am all about that. So those are all of the Canadian YA reads that I'm going to talk about today. To my fellow Canadians, happy Canada Day, and to everyone else, I hope that you decide to pick up some Canadian authors because Canada is amazing and it's my favorite place in the world. No matter how much I travel, Canada will always be my home. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something new about Canada, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!